there's a basic set of concepts that the entire Sedona method is based around. I'm going to give you those set of concepts right now. Now, just let me make this clear. These concepts aren't true, they aren't real, they aren't meaningful, they're not special in any way. They're just the concepts that we've framed the Sedona method around, that knowing them just seems to be helpful. That's all. And so with every time I do a diagram, my favorite part is just the blank paper. I like blank paper, I don't know why. But actually, because the blank paper represents our true nature. In my experience, what we are is that which allows for the entire dance of life. And so this blank paper represents our beingness. It represents infinity. It represents that which we truly are. And everything I'm about to talk about is just coloration that's appearing in or on this that we are. Now, this sheet is way too small. It's not a very good representation. It should expand infinitely in all directions. But then there'd be no room for us in this room. So we'll stick with just white paper. So the first thought that everything gets hooked on is this thought I, this thought me. And in my experience, we start out and never leave the blank paper, since that's who we are. We're already infinity itself. But in order to play the game of limitation, we invent these layers of limitation. And the very first layer of limitation that we invent, and now remember, I'm making this up as we go, but it's fun, is this sense of me, or I. And everything else is hooked to that. And the fifth way of releasing is focusing on just dissolving this one illusion, because all the other illusions are hooked to it. So, but just a thought I or me doesn't have very much substance. Even if you said it all day long, it still would just be a sound. But what we do is we create these artificial layers of substance based on these core beliefs. And the first belief is, I am separate from everyone else. I'm separate from the all. And because there's this sense of separation, it arises with two core opposing energies, or opposing wants. The first one is, I want to be separate. And at the same time, the opposing want is, I want to be one. So it's like heads and tails of the same coin. There's this energy that we're experiencing all the time. If someone gets too close to you, you want to pull away. That's the wanting to be separate. If you're feeling isolated, then you want to join in. But so there's this, we're constantly dancing between these two energies, the energy of wanting to be separate and the energy of wanting to be one, all based on the assumption or belief that there is a separate individual, separate from everyone else. And some people think, well, why would you want to let go of wanting to be one? Well, would you rather want to be one, or would you rather be one? It's your choice. The reason that we're exploring this, we're going to be exploring a series of wants. And in my experience, want equates to lack. If you want something, you feel like you don't have it. And this is one of the places where the Sedona method actually diverges from a lot of other processes and techniques. And a lot of people will tell you, if you haven't achieved what you want in life, it's because you haven't wanted it enough. You just need to want it more. In other words, you have to kind of pump yourself up. Did you ever see, those of you who remember Saturday Night Live, Hans and Franz? I'm going to pump you up. And that's how a lot of us live our lives. We're trying to pump ourselves up. And when we're pumping ourselves up, it's totally artificial. It requires a lot of energy, and it doesn't create what we want. It just creates a lot of hot air. And so if and it's hard to maintain. You can't maintain that pumped up state all the time. And when those of us who think we need to, think we're somehow failing when we're not pumping ourselves up. So what I recommend you do is let go of wanting. Again, would you rather want $1 million, or would you rather have $1 million? Have. Would you rather want to have the perfect relationship, or would you rather have the perfect relationship? Now, for some of us, that's a mixed bag. Because even if we have the perfect relationship, there's still some work involved. Relationships are sometimes require a little maintenance. Again, would you rather want to be healthy, or would you rather be healthy? So one of the things that the Sedona method is based on is letting go of wanting. And we focus on 4 core polarities, and that's what we're exploring here. So I'll continue now that I've kind of put it in perspective. So, and this is the deepest one underneath all the other ones. First there's just this thought of I, then there's this belief that I'm separate, and so there's this opposing wants. I want to maintain the separation, and at the same time I want to get rid of it. And then a little closer to the surface is 2 more opposing wants. And one is I want to survive. I want to survive as this physical body, and it's based on the belief that I'm the body. I'm this carcass, as Lester used to call it. I'm not going to get into the whole story, Lester's story, because if I start that, I'll be gone for days. But anyway, so the belief here is I'm the body, separate from all other bodies. And because I'm the body, there are 2 opposing energies. One is I want to protect the body, I want to maintain the body, I want to survive as the body. And the other one is the body is a pain in the ass. So I want to get rid of it. If you don't believe me, that one is called wanting to die. And the wanting to die is in every one of us. Those mornings when you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, there's a little bit of not wanting to live life. That's what I'm talking about. And if you don't believe that you have that energy inside of you, everyone in this room is probably old enough to appreciate this. Imagine that body aging, continuing to age, but there's no way out. Would that be very appealing? No. So we have these opposing energies with the belief that we are the body. We want to survive, or be safe, and we also want to die. We want it to end. And those energies are always fighting with each other inside of us. And then a little closer to the surface is another belief, and that's the belief that love is in all the other bodies. That if I just get the right relationship with all these other bodies, I'll be loved. And also we think if all the other bodies love us, we'll be safe. So that has its opposite, which I'll explain in a second. So there's I want love or approval. Interesting writing, but and it has its opposite. Sometimes when people compliment us, for instance, we don't like it. It stirs up our wanting love, but it also stirs up our wanting to reject love. So in addition to wanting love, we also want disapproval. We want to hold love away. We reject it. And that also, has anyone here in this room ever rebelled against anyone or anything? There could be a little wanting disapproval there too. So we want love and we want disapproval. So those 2 energies are fighting with each other inside of us all the time too. And then closest to the surface is our wanting to control. We think that we are the boss and the world should be the way we tell it to be. And none of us have noticed that it doesn't really care. And the things that we were just releasing on, the wanting to change it, resistance and wanting to figure it out, are just synonyms for wanting to control. The reason we broke those three synonyms down, remember the wanting to control is the want that we're most aware of all the time. It's the one that's interfering with life the most. And it comes in many different forms. Wanting to manipulate, wanting to control, wanting to change, wanting to fix, wanting to tell people what to do, even if they don't want to, and on and on and on. But there are three things that we experience a lot. One of them is resistance, one of them is wanting to change what is, and the other one is wanting to figure things out. Those are all just forms of wanting to control. And then this also has its opposite. Have you ever blamed someone or something else for how you feel? Do you ever give your power away in relationship? To society? And so the opposite of wanting to control is wanting to be controlled. And that's those two energies, the wanting to control and the wanting to be controlled, are opposing each other all the time. And so one of the powerful parts of the Sedona method is you let go of the wanting to be separate. You let go of the wanting to survive. You let go of the wanting approval. You let go of the wanting to control. And you can also let go of the opposites. Now remember, these are heads and tails of the same thing. So if you're letting go of wanting to control, you're also letting go of wanting to be controlled. If you're letting go of wanting to be controlled, you're also letting go of wanting to control. So you don't always have to let go of all eight. And every situation that we experience has a combination of these different wants. So this is a great way to accelerate your releasing by letting go at this level of these core underlying motivating wants. That if you look at your life, you'll discover that they motivate most of your thinking, most of your actions. They actually motivate all your thinking and all of your actions, but I was trying to be kind. So does that mean if you let go of all your wants, you won't do anything? No. It just means that the motivators will change. You can be motivated from reaction, from lack, or you can be motivated from courageousness, from acceptance, from peace. So you'll find as you let go of these wants, your whole life opens up to you. So all of these wants generate our emotions: apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, and the limiting parts of courageousness, acceptance, and peace. I'll repeat that. Apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, courageousness, acceptance, and peace. All those feelings are generated by all these wants, which are hooked on just the one belief of I or me. And so a lot of the releasing that we do is also on emotion. When you let go of emotion, you'll find that radical shifts happen in your life. And this is where thinking comes in. Now the reason I put those arrows there, those circular arrows in the thinking, is because when we're trying to change life just by changing our thinking, it's a spin. It's also a wanting to figure it out. But also, everyone in this room and everyone watching this has probably heard of positive thinking. And I'm going to say something here that's contrary to what a lot of people think. I don't believe positive thinking works. And the reason that is if you're just simply trying to control your thoughts, it's a forever job. Researchers followed around some people at one point and start with a little clicker with their thoughts, and they figured out somehow, I'm sure they didn't do it this way, but they figured out that we have 50 or 60,000 thoughts a day. Now if you had to control 50 or 60,000 thoughts a day, can you imagine the possibility of actually even doing that? No. The other thing is, what happens if we try to control our thinking, then we just have thoughts about our thoughts, about our thoughts, about our thoughts. So it's just more thinking. So what we found through releasing is that if you release the emotions and you release the wants, your thinking rapidly changes. It gets quieter, it gets clearer, and it gets much more positive. And you don't have to effort at maintaining it. So it's much more powerful than just trying to think positively. It's much easier than trying to control your thoughts because it's much simpler. You can, for instance, spend an entire day, hopefully as you let go you won't experience this, but I'm sure you know people who have been angry for months. And all their thoughts are angry thoughts. But if they just released the anger, their whole thinking would change. And that's what happens. When you release the when you release the feeling, and going back to the example of the person who's angry, maybe they're angry because they really wanted to control their wife or their husband. And it's not working. So if they let go of the wanting to control, the anger would leave and all the thoughts. So what happens is when you let go of the feelings and the wants, the changes in your life are much more rapid than trying to control your thinking. And here's where the world goes. There's the world. And I made it purposely small because the world, you've probably also heard, the people who tell you need to control your thoughts tell you that your thoughts are creating your world. Well, on some level that's true. This is just an outpicturing of our minds. But trying to control your mind in order to control the world doesn't work. What really works is by releasing all this, you'll find that this rapidly changes. That's why the Sedona method is as powerful as it is, because you're working at a point where the change is much more rapid. If you see through this illusion, then all this falls apart and the world just naturally rights itself. If you see through or let go of your wanting to be separate or your belief in separation, everything below it falls apart. If you release your wanting to die and your wanting to survive, or you see that you're not the body, everything else falls away below it. If you release that belief that your love comes from outside of yourself, or you simply let go of your wanting approval and your wanting disapproval, everything below it falls away. If you release your desire to control and your desire to be controlled, again, the same thing happens. So the Sedona method powerfully clears things up very, very rapidly. And that's why we recommend that you give it a chance to really work for you. And this is also why the Sedona method is as powerful as it is, based on these concepts. Now again, are these concepts the truth? No. It's just a way of looking at what we all experience. So let's do a release on wanting. And I'll move this out of the way. So again, allow yourself to review your life and check to see if there's anything about your life that you'd like to feel freer about in this moment. Anything you're wanting to change or improve. And could you just simply welcome whatever came to mind? And then dig a little deeper and see if it feels like it's coming from any kind of wanting. A wanting survival, a wanting to be separate, a wanting to control, a wanting love, any kind of wanting. And by the way, if you're not sure, just pick one. It doesn't matter. Because usually it's a combination. And whichever want you're most aware of in this moment, could you just let it be here? Could you welcome it? And then as best you can, just for now, could you let go of wanting that? Could you just set it free? And focus on that same thing or anything else about your life that you've been wanting to change or improve, that you have some feeling about. And could you just simply welcome how you feel in this moment? And then could you allow yourself to feel into it or dig a little deeper and see which want it's coming from? A wanting to be separate or one, a wanting survival, a wanting approval, or a wanting control. And whichever want you're most aware of in this moment, remember, it may be a combination, so just pick one. Do this with as little thinking as possible. Could you just simply welcome it? Could you let it be here? And then as best you can, just for now, could you just simply let go of that want? Remember, just as best you can. And if you're struggling with that, again, remember, would you rather want it or would you rather just have it? So could you just set it free? Let it go as best you can. And again, focus on that one more time. Focus on that same situation, or if it feels free at the moment, focus on another one. Some situation where you're being stuck, or you've been wanting to fix it or change it, wanting to improve it. And could you welcome whatever it brings up inside of you? Could you just let it be here? And then could you allow yourself to dig a little deeper and see which want it's coming from? A wanting separateness or oneness? A wanting survival? A wanting approval or love? Or wanting to control? And whichever want you're most aware of in this moment, could you just set it free? Could you let it go as best you can? And could you just simply allow yourself to be as you are? And be as you are. And be as you are. Okay, great. So again, if you were doing this on your own, you could just simply, when you're struggling with a feeling or you're wanting to let it go and you're wanting to go very deeply into it, you can see which want it's coming from and then simply decide to let go of that wanting. Every time you let go of a little wanting to control, you're lessening all issues in your life related to wanting to control. Every time you let go of a little wanting approval, you're lessening or lightening all issues in your life that relate to wanting approval. And the same thing is true with all the other wants. And plus, every time you see through that illusion of the separate individual, it lightens everything. And so this is just a brief distillation of what all our programs are about. Everything we do at Sedona Training Associates is based either directly or loosely on what we've just covered. everything we'll be doing for the rest of this week, everything we do in all our programs is all based on these simple tools and these simple principles. And you'll find if you just apply these, your whole life will change. If you apply these in your relationships, you'll have better relationships. If you apply these principles with your money, you'll have more money. If you apply these principles with your health and well-being, you'll have a greater sense of health and well-being. And you'll also find that as you get into letting go, you'll find it becomes easier and easier to do. It becomes more and more fun. It becomes more and more natural. Because letting go is natural. It's what we do all the time without realizing it. But instead of doing it from time to time by accident, as you use these tools, you'll find that they're naturally available to you every moment throughout the day. It's an invitation to lead a richer, happier, more love-filled, more rewarding life. And this is just the beginning. So that's our basics.